Welcome to No Apologies on Beck. I am your host, Lori Hinz. It has been said that we like to speak the truth on this program, and also we are your after-hours oasis of sanity. With me, this time remoting in from Alabama, of all things, and that's not his state, is David Bossie. Dave Bossie is not only a national committeeman from the state of Maryland, but also president and CEO, president and chairman of Citizens United, too. So thanks, Dave, so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So we're going to talk a little bit, first of all, about Citizens United, and then we're going to talk about your latest film. But Citizens United, maybe people have not heard about it, but it is a group that is dedicated basically to restoring our government to citizens' control rather than government's control. Am I right?
That's exactly right. Citizens United began in 1988, so we've been around a long time. Citizens United Foundation began in 1992. So the two organizations, two sister organizations, are conservative grassroots and educational organizations that really spend its time and our staff's time really focusing on constitutional issues, questions, policy, and good policy, supporting good policy and fighting bad policy in Washington, D.C. And it's been we've been very successful over the years. I led in the 90s at Citizens United. I was at Citizens United at the time in the 1990s, and I led the Clinton investigations from Whitewater all the way through and including impeachment. We've been doing this a long time, investigations, and trying to educate the American people about what is going on in the swamp. And then of course, I got very lucky. I got a chance to meet and know Donald Trump back in 2010. And from then on, we've been very good friends. And then I assisted him in putting together his team for president. It was one of his advisors. And then I was Kellyanne Conway and I were the campaign manager and deputy manager, campaign manager of the 2016 campaign. I took a leave of absence from Citizens United to do that. One of the greatest experiences of my life. And then when we won, the president appointed me to be the deputy director of the Trump-Pence presidential transition team. So getting to build the White House operation and the executive branch for the president during the transition was an amazing experience. And most folks, and a lot of people will have heard of Citizens United because we had a case at the United States Supreme Court back in 2010. And it was about a film that I was making back in 2007 called Hillary, the Movie. And it was a documentary film that was not obviously flattering to Hillary Clinton during her run against Barack Obama. The United States government told me I couldn't advertise the film and I couldn't show the film anywhere because it would be a violation of McCain-Feingold. And so I decided to I felt that was an infringement on my First Amendment rights. So we took them to court all the way to the United States Supreme Court and won Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission, which was a film which was a case 100% based on one of our films that Citizens United Productions, produced back in 2007.
Now, what I love about Citizens United is you really focus on educating people, and education is a big part of what you do, and you can do that through these films. And you have done more than one film. Of course, we're talking today about the latest film, which is huge and blowing up right now. But you've done a lot of different educating films before, David.
Yeah, it's been a great experience. Not being a filmmaker originally. But if you see and know of Speaker Newt Gingrich, one of the great historians, I've made 8 documentary films with him. Ronald Reagan was one of our great films. It's called Ronald Reagan Rendezvous with Destiny. We made a film on Pope John Paul II called 9 Days That Changed the World. We made his best-selling, he and Callista Gingrich, the two of them together, he and his wife, Callista, a book into a film called Rediscovering God in America. We've made films with Fred Thompson and Mike Huckabee, Rick Santorum, some of the great intellectual and conservative leaders of our time. Phil Robertson of the Duck Dynasty fame has made a film with us. So we've been all over the filmmaking genre, but we also now have our latest film on Mark Zuckerberg called Rigged, and folks can go to rigged2020.com. You can stream it on any device anywhere in the world today, and we're really excited about it because the film's only been out just over 2 weeks, and it's had major impact. It is blowing up, as you said, all across the country. We're really proud of that, but it's also an amazing thing to have success in a film. We called Mark Zuckerberg out on what he did in 2020, and he just last week announced that he will no longer be funding these types of campaign activities.
That's got to be quite a victory. I saw that article in Breitbart, and it said basically that he's surrendered already. I just loved how that was written. It made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, you know what? I was shocked by it, but sunlight is the best disinfectant. And when you educate the American people through this documentary film, Rigged, and people reacted to it, and Mark Zuckerberg heard about it.
Hey, whatever works. If you put it out there, you're right. They scatter in the darkness like that.
That's
but
right.
It's wonderful that it actually had an effect. Now, this new movie, which is called Rigged, the Zuckerberg-funded plot to defeat Donald Trump, do you think that people had not even heard about this? Because I had heard little tidbits about it, but I don't know that the general public has heard about Zuckerberg's actual meddling. Yeah,
the Zuck Bucks. He put $400 million into the election cycle in basically the last 4 months of the election in 2020. $400 million, what we claim is that he put his thumb on the scale of the election results on Joe Biden's behalf, and that he and what he did, his spending of $400 million, is why why President Trump says the election was rigged and it was stolen, and that it was rigged before Election Day. And this film really articulates it, and it's for the first time. Look, we've all been frustrated because we've heard all of these stories, these tales of what happened in 2020. This is the first time that we put together the facts and evidence to show the American people through this 40-minute documentary film. And Donald Trump is in it. President Trump is in it. Newt Gingrich is in it. Kellyanne Conway, Ted Cruz, some of the greats. And we can go through some of the cast and what they talk about in a moment. But this film really provides the basis from which you can then talk to your friends and family and neighbors and educate them as to why President Trump says that this election was rigged.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. I'm your host, Lori Hinz. With me remoting in, Dave Bossie. We are talking to him about his latest film with Citizens United called Rigged, all about Zuckerbucks and Zuckerberg. And it was a great film. You did an amazing job, Dave. I really, really enjoyed it when I got to see it.
Well, thank you. It's a lot of work. Making a 40-minute film on any topic's very difficult to do. But on election integrity, people think it might be a little boring. You got a bunch of talking heads, or it's very difficult to keep the pace. And so the storytelling is very important. And so I think my team and we did a great job, but the cast is so strong. Starting with President Trump to Ted Cruz, who's amazing, Newt Gingrich, who's an incredible historian, Kellyanne Conway, who obviously led the 2016 effort. It has been a really great. It was a really great film to work on, but seeing the final product is something to be very proud of.
Got to be very gratifying after all that work. And I will tell you that 40 minutes was just about the perfect length, too. I was really impressed. It kept my attention. I found it entertaining. I laughed a little bit in a couple of the things that you had there. And that is making a good film, when you can make people pay attention and also laugh during the film. So I found it incredibly, incredibly entertaining. So let's take a look at the trailer and show people a little bit about Rigged. Let's watch.
On the day that he was inaugurated, the Washington Post had an article on impeaching him.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States.
They had an absolute legitimate meltdown.
If you try to change a system that big, the system fights back.
The story behind the biggest election takeover in history.
We're only now being able to finally confirm exactly how this worked.
Mark Zuckerberg and his wife are donating more money to local governments ahead of the election. $100 million on top of a $300 million gift.
The most money any individual has ever spent to win a presidential campaign in the history of our country.
I actually became infuriated that someone had allowed Zuckerberg to tip the scale.
The election was bought way before Election Day.
They stole it fair and square. They changed the voting rules in the middle of the game.
A nation divided.
This was the greatest billionaire assault on election integrity we've ever seen.
A billionaire-funded plot against the president.
Do you believe that they used the COVID emergency as an excuse to pull this partisan voter turnout operation?
Am I allowed to give you a one-word answer? Yes.
It was really a partial takeover of the election system.
I don't think we have to blame China or voting machines. I think we can look straight in the eye of Mark Zuckerberg, and that's why Joe Biden won.
That's what this was. A corrupt, Democratic voter turnout operation.
You had them putting their own personnel in to actually run the election in places.
You had an entire Democratic Party petrified that Joe Biden was going to be outspent, outfoxed by Trump.
Rigged.
It was a rigged election. People have to find out what happened.
It's only been out for a few weeks now, a couple weeks now, but I tell you what, it is gaining steam all the time, Dave. And I think Ken Blackwell really said it succinctly. He said, I was infuriated. You know what? When I heard about the Zuckerbucks thing, too, I was infuriated. I think the whole grassroots of all of America was infuriated.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And I watched the film at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump during the premiere. And after the film was over, he stood up and he turned to me and he said, you know, it's really sad. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, no, it's not sad. It's depressing. It's depressing what happened. It's depressing how this happened and how the American people don't even have any idea that it happened. To go back to your point earlier, not everybody in America heard about what Mark Zuckerberg did. That's hence the reason for the film. And so President Trump really was shaken and you know, it educated him. You know, he's somebody who follows this, you know, issue obviously much closer than the rest of us. And he learned a lot from watching this film. And now he understands that he has some of the facts and evidence that he needs to be able to continue the conversation with the American people about just what happened. Look, Mark Zuckerberg spent $400 million of his own money. The DNC, and we do this in the film, the Democrat National Committee spent $461 million in 2 years, in a 2-year cycle on TV ads and their digital operation and their headquarters and their employees, $461 million in 2 years. Mark Zuckerberg spent $400 million in 4 months. Think about that. It's an unbelievable amount of money for the get out the vote operation to help Joe Biden win. He put David Plouffe, Barack Obama's campaign manager, in charge of the Chan Zuckerberg initiative as the chief strategist. They're the people who made the decisions as to where the money went. And then the money goes through this Center for Tech and Civic Life, this organization that is run by hardcore leftists, Obama acolytes, people who, they're not nonpartisan folks. This is where the money was said to have gone, to these nonpartisan 501c3 charitable foundations, furthest thing from the truth. And so these organizations put the money in scientifically, 45 million from Center for Tech and Civic Life, 45 million into the state of Georgia. 94% of that money went into Biden districts. Think about that for a second. Georgia was only won by 10,000 votes. Arizona, in the funded segments versus the unfunded the funded counties versus the unfunded counties. Biden outperformed Hillary Clinton by 700,000 votes. Okay, 700,000 votes. He outperforms Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, had historic numbers, a historic campaign for a historic woman against Joe Biden, who couldn't get out of his basement and didn't campaign in Arizona. And they still only won by 10,000 votes. You just have to look at the science and the data and how they did it. And it was ruthlessly effective, as Ted Cruz says in the film. What they did was brilliant. It was a master stroke. But now there has to be investigations. There has to be audits. There needs to be an uncovering. As I said earlier, the sunlight is the best disinfectant. We have to figure out, we have to figure out how this happened, how the money got into these different states and where it went, because clearly we see this ballot harvesting operation in Georgia as an example. Where did they get the money to do that? Was that part of the Zucker bucks? I don't know the answer. That's why we have to have investigations.
Well, we need to do some investigating even in North Dakota, because we were told that there were counties in our state that received part of the grants as well. 162 grants of $400,000 or more, all told. That is an amazing thing that's going to definitely flip an election. David, thank you so much for coming on the program today. Very, very grateful. Good luck to you. You're traveling. I'm sure you're going to be all over the United States pushing this rigged movie.
Yeah, people go to rig2020.com. You can stream it anywhere and at any time on any device. Please go watch it and get an education for yourself. Thanks for having me.